Congratulations to the Indiana Fever, winners of the WNBA's Commissioner's Cup. They won in front of nearly 13,000 at Target Center on Tuesday evening. Also, today, the second day of revenue sharing on campus, as schools can pay their athletes directly under the terms of the House settlement. And this is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, July 2nd. I'm Abe Madcorp, staying with college sports. We talked about it yesterday on the Buzzcast, and then there was more news on Tuesday about the changing faces and leadership in college sports, as Bubba Cunningham, one of the most well-regarded, well-respected athletic directors in all of college sports, announced that he will step down as athletic director at the University of North Carolina next summer. And his replacement? Yes, coming from the non-college environment, Steve Newmark. He is president of Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing here in Charlotte. Newmark's initial title will be Executive Associate Athletic Director. He'll start in August, and he'll report to Bubba Cunningham. But basically, I see this as a year learning under Bubba Cunningham. Newmark will start focusing on driving revenue, and Cunningham will then transition out next year in July of 2026, remain as a senior advisor at the university as part of a contract extension. Now, Cunningham's been at UNC since 2011. He has a lot on his plate. That school has 28 varsity sports. He had a long history in collegiate athletic leadership. He's always been a leader, especially out front on name, image, and likeness. So Steve Newmark, who is he? Well, he's been president of a NASCAR team since 2010. Before that, longtime lawyer, a lawyer here in Charlotte at the firm Robinson, Bradshaw, and Hinson. Now, he is a Chapel Hill native. Tar Heel Blue runs through him. He also attended William and Mary, got his law degree at the University of Virginia. He was part of the advisory committee that helped hire Bill Belichick. So he'll have a lot on his plate when he takes over in July of next year, including a decision to make on a new venue as the school is exploring either a renovation of the on-campus Smith Center or a replacement arena off campus. But the bottom line here is this is smart succession planning by UNC, and this is another big change in the leadership ranks on a college campus. Let's move on. I get asked often about how is Live Golf, and especially under its new leadership of Scott O'Neill. Scott O'Neill's been CEO of Live Golf for about the last 6 months. He gave an interview to golf.com this week where he outlined his first few months, and a few highlights really stood out to me. First, he says he's been warmly welcomed by all of golf stakeholders, including the USGA, Augusta National, and all the golf companies. He said he's been given a seat at the table, which I think is a reflection of how Greg Norman was not treated so warmly by others in the golf world. We know the history there. Number two, Scott O'Neill positioned Live Golf as, quote, the good guys, end quote, who have a mission to grow the game of golf and take its best players all over the world. He sees this as a global tour. And finally, he sees the golf world coming together in several different ways and said that the golf business must be banding together and taking on other global sports like cricket, tennis, and football, all other global sports. Golf should be in that conversation. So a lot of eyes continue to watch Live Golf and Scott O'Neill, just as they are watching Brian Rolap, who is the new CEO of PGA Tour Enterprises. And interestingly, O'Neill, Rolap were classmates at Harvard Business School and now both running some of the top golf properties in the world. You know, here's a team deal that gives you a little insight in the valuation of Major League Soccer teams. Haslam Sports Group, that is, of course, Jimmy and Dee Haslam, they sold a 10% stake in the Columbus Crew in a deal that values the Crew at $900 million. So Haslam Sports Group now owns 70% of the club, not 80%. The family of a local physician, Pete Edwards, who has been critical to keeping the Crew in Columbus, holds the remaining 30%. And the Crew, bottom line, have been one of the most successful MLS franchises on and off the pitch over the last few years. They won MLS Cup in 2020 and 2023. They have a beautiful new facility, Lore.com Field, that they built for just over $300 million in 2021. But this is a healthy valuation for an MLS team. Recent minority stakes in NYCFC and FC Cincinnati reportedly sold at valuations of $1.5 billion for NYCFC and just over $900 million for FC Cincinnati. So we continue to watch the valuations of MLS clubs. Two other teams are currently for sale. The Vancouver Whitecaps, San Jose Earthquakes. Will be keeping our eye on the valuation and the transaction price of those teams. Staying with the Haslams, I'm just guessing, but perhaps they wanted some liquidity as they are moving forward on a new stadium for the other team they own, the Cleveland Browns. We know that the Browns are moving out to Brook Park, and plans for a $2.4 billion stadium cleared a major hurdle as Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signed a state budget bill offering $600 million in state funding to cover some of the stadium's anticipated costs. So the Haslams are hoping the county now will provide another $600 million, though that is still up in the air. Remember, the total cost of this new Brown Stadium, $2.4 billion for now. It could go up. Haslam Sports Group has committed to spending $1.2 billion of that cost, and that means we know the team will leave downtown Cleveland for just outside of Cleveland in Brook Park in a new stadium to be built over the next few years. Staying with some facility talk, there's been a lot of consternation about the future of the Arizona Diamondbacks, specifically where they will play in their future facility. But the big win for the D-backs came this week as Arizona's governor signed a bill directing what could be more than $1 billion in taxpayer dollars to improvements at Chase Field. There's been a lot of concern about the condition of Chase Field. It's one of the older facilities in Major League Baseball. Supporters believe that this funding will keep the D-backs in Arizona. There are also some penalties in this bill if the D-backs do leave Chase Field before 2050. The D-backs are contributing about $250 million for renovations. So again, across the United States, we're continuing to see these public-private partnerships on facility development, new facilities, and renovated facilities. You're seeing it in Ohio. Now we're seeing it potentially in Arizona. The work on the D-backs is not done. They still have a new lease to sign with Maricopa County, but this is a big step forward for the D-backs in terms of renovating Chase Field. Let's stay with Arizona and give a lesson to fans. The Diamondback fan who was ejected Monday for interfering with an apparent San Francisco Giants home run has been banned for the rest of the season. The team cited multiple offenses committed by this one fan at Chase Field. They have it on record, and that fan will be banned for the rest of this year, but they will have the opportunity to return in 26 as long as the fan meets certain terms and abides by the team's code of conduct. So the D-backs definitely laying down the law on fans interfering with the action. The Diamondbacks did not identify the fan in question here. You know, I'm asked all the time, how do deals in sports come together? And the backstory is always among the best parts to learn. It could have been about a cold call. It could have been a random introduction or a 6 degrees of separation that leads to a big $1 million deal. So my favorite story yesterday was SBJ's Tom Friend's account of how the Brooklyn Nets struck a jersey patch partnership with one of their courtside season ticket holders. Yes, it's a great story. Crystal McKenna built the medical and IT billing company all in one. She signed a deal with the Nets, and it's the company's first marketing deal. Here's the great story. A longtime Nets fan, she is a member of the Barclays Center Crown Club. She started conversations with some Nets officials on the corporate partnership side. Random conversations. They talked about her business. They talked about what her goals were, challenges, and how to grow the business. And yes, that led to a pretty big deal, a jersey patch deal, and now all in one, her company will be seen all over Nets games this year. They'll be presenting partner of opening night. They'll get in-venue, courtside, and digital branding all season long. And it just started as a season ticket holder struck up a general conversation with one of the team's executives during a game. So a fun story on how a pretty big deal started and came together. And so that is your morning Buzzcast for Wednesday, July 2nd. I'm Abe Madcore. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy. Be good to each other. I'll speak to you tomorrow.